Alright, Rift Spawn here with another video, and today we are doing my favorite releases from 2020. So stay tuned and find out what my favorite albums are. Alright everyone, so the way I'm going to do this is not in a way of like my least favorite to my favorite. It's not like a top 10 or anything like that. It's just me going over my favorite releases that I was able to get a hold of. I have some vinyl, I have some 7-inch, and I have a handful of cassettes. And what we're going to do, we're just going to start with the 7-inch, work our way to the cassettes, and then we'll end on the vinyl. So with that being said, the first release that I got, and it might honestly be the first album that I bought in 2020. I got it when the pre-orders were up, and it is the Spectral Voice Anadonist 7-inch split that was released on Dark Descent Records. To my knowledge, they did two variants of it. They did one that was in a Pepsi Blue, and then they did just your traditional standard black wax. As you can see, I got the black one. I was going to get the blue to match the cover, but it was already sold out by the time I was able to get my hands on it. Or try to get my hands on it, rather. So this is what we have for the first release. I'm not going to play any of the music today just because that would take forever to go through all these releases. But for those of you that don't know, Anadonist is a funeral doom, death doom band. Same with Spectral Voice. Spectral Voice is actually 75% of Blood Incantation. So if you're into modern death metal, you probably know who Blood Incantation is. Spectral Voice has 3 out of 4 of the members of Blood Incantation in that Spectral Voice lineup. So, some great stuff. It's out on Dark Descent Records. Highly recommend checking it out. This is the latest thing we've heard from Spectral Voice, and it will sadly be the last we hear from Anadonist because they lost their, I believe it was their guitarist that they lost. So R.I.P. One of the supreme funeral doom, death doom bands of the last 20 years for sure. So next up, we're going to go into the cassettes, and I have a handful of them. So we'll start with Atrahasis, Antediluvian Prophecies. This was released on Desert Wastelands. It is their debut demo. It's on a gold shell case. Just a standard little J card. Has the lyrics in it and some artwork and whatnot. For those of you that do not know Atrahasis, they go along with the whole kind of, if you're familiar with the band Nile, they go along with the whole kind of like ancient Egypt type deal, and it is an absolute banger of a release. It reminds me a lot of Nile, except maybe not quite as technical. Maybe if Nile was like infused with like Immolation and Morbid Angel, and they put out something more modern, you would get Atrahasis. There's only 3 songs on it. Going to struggle to pronounce these because they use like ancient Egyptian words and stuff, but track 1 is Antediluvian Cleansing. Track 2 is Kibrat or Bedum. And track 3, which is probably my favorite one, I feel like it's the longest one, and it just has the most different parts in it. And it sounds great, but it is Knowledge of the Serpent Through the Ages. So again, check this out. It is on Desert Wasteland Productions. They have a 12-inch coming out soon. They have the cassettes, and I want to say they did a CD release. Merch, they might have one long sleeve. I'm not 100% sure. These guys are still kind of new. They're their feet up off the ground and getting started, but definitely a band that you want to keep your eye out for in 2021. I suspect that they will be doing quite a bit. Alright, so next up, which I said I wasn't going to do like a top 10 or anything, but this is probably my second favorite album from 2020 that I got. It is Bedsore off a 20 buck spin with, I believe this is their debut full length, and it is Hypnagogic Hallucinations. Not 100% sure if I said that first word right, but that doesn't matter. It's just a black cassette, normal J card. Front side of it has the entirety of the album cover kind of folded out on the first 3 panels, and then with the label panel right here, and then on the inside of it, it's hard to see, but we get the lyric sheet. These guys are on 20 buck spin, which is a fairly well-known label for putting out things such as a Mortal Bird, Tomb Mold, Scorched, some other cool stuff. This album to me is like if you were to take Pink Floyd with, and I'm not talking like another Brick in the Wall, I mean like the real proggy, like Obscured by Clouds, Metal, Dark Side of the Moon, that style of Pink Floyd, and you take like the real clean guitar parts that they would have, the real spaced out sections, and then you put some black metal vocals on top of it and just some traditional death metal style riffing. It is an amazing album. Highly recommend you check it out. If you follow me on Instagram, I do this segment where I go on Instagram Live and I might have a beer or something of that nature, and I will put on an album to listen to, and I will most definitely be doing a playthrough of Bedsore Hypnagogic Hallucinations because it is perfect. It is the perfect album. The only thing I believe I would change about it is if the clean spaced out sections weren't in like every single song. It sounds really good on this album, but if that is a trend they keep going in the future, then I fear they will be one of those bands where just everything sounds the same. But what they got going on is definitely great, and for a debut full length, it's hard to beat because this sounds like what most bands would put out maybe for album number 3 or 4 or 5. It's very professional sounding and just a great spaced out trippy listen. Next up, you guys have already seen this before. It was my first video, and it is Tool Sling, Culling the Seed. Just in case you guys forgot, it's on a homemade cassette. Little thing of the band on there. And then just side 2, it repeats. Standard J card in here has the band and whatnot right here. Sorry, that was upside down. The artwork here, it has the members and then just blank inside. If you have already watched my YouTube video on it, you already know everything I have to say about Tool Sling. This is another band similar to Atrahasis. It's their first release. And it is just Mental Funeral Autopsy having a baby with like 90s Dying Fetus and sprinkle a little 90s Suffocation on there. That's really all I got to say about it. It is 4 songs of just pure, hard-hitting death metal that anyone needs to check out. So, be sure you do that. Next up is the last cassette that I have, Faceless Burial Speciation. This is another release from Dark Descent. The cassette's really cool. It's just on a clear cassette. The J card, let me pop that out for you. We have the label part right here. The artwork on this panel. This panel is the members of the band. This last panel is a picture of the band with their logo. And then the inside panel is killer. They go to this purple and they do a lyric sheet, but they add like the divine hand with the eye on it and stuff, if you're into divination and things like that. So there is the appearance part of this release. The reason why I like it so much, I am a guitarist, and this is just a guitar player's album. Not in the sense of it has a lot of flashy, sweet picking type stuff. It just has really good riffs. Right off the bat, you get this song Worship, which is just a buffet of killer riffs. And then the rest of the record, there's actually some really good guitar solos on here as well. Like in the title track, Speciation, it has a killer solo in it. Cool song arrangements, like the way they arrange the riffs around each other and whatnot. It is just an absolute banger of a album, and that will be another one that I will be doing on an Instagram live segment, is Faceless Burial Speciation. So again, a recap of what we have. We have the Anadonis Spectral Voice split. We have Atrahasis Antediluvian Prophecies. We have Bedsore Hypnagogic Hallucinations. We have Tollsling Culling the Seed. And Faceless Burial Speciation. I did not say what my favorite song was on Bedsore. It would be the last track of side A, At the Mountains of Madness. Just listen to it. If you need a song to sell you on why you need to listen to the rest of this album, listen to that song. For Tollsling, it would have to be the song Culling the Seed, what they end the album on. It's just good. It's a hard-hitting track. Then, for Faceless Burial, I go back and forth, but right now I gave it another listen last night, and I want to say my favorite song right now is Limbic Infirmary. It just has probably my favorite solo on the record, and it's hard to beat. As for the Spectral Voice and Anadonis, I'm not going to do a favorite song because it's just one song from each band, so we're just going to leave it at that. Alright, moving on. We are going to go with the 12 inches now. And this, if you follow me on Instagram, you have seen me share a lot about this band. They are amazing. This is their debut full length. Killer stuff. It was put out on Blood Harvest Records, another killer label. And it is Cryptic Shift Visitations to, I don't know how to say this word, or Visitations from Enceladus. They sent me a video of how to pronounce it. I know that's not it. It's been a week or two since I've seen that video, so forgive me, Cryptic Shift, if you watch this. I know I just butchered that. I got the, they just did a second or third pressing on this red vinyl. Really pretty. I've listened to it quite a few times since I've had the physical copy of it. Let me get this back in its sleeve. I'm not going to pull out all the contents for the 12-inch just because I don't feel like digging it all out, but I will show you the record itself. So, for starters with this, we have 4 songs on there. And right off the bat, side A with the first song is Moonbelt Immolator. This song is 26 minutes. Right off the bat, it's just, they give you a taste of what they are capable of. I mean, in 26 minutes, a lot of times for me with long songs, and especially songs that are very long, like 26 minutes, they kind of die off and I get bored throughout it. not with Cryptic Shift. Moonbelt Immolator, it feels fresh, all 26 minutes, and even though it's half the album, you feel like you've only maybe been listening for like 10 minutes. It feels very laid out well to the point where it just doesn't get old. It stays fresh and it's a fun listen. They have it on the vinyl kind of broken off into 6 parts, but still, just definitely worth a check out. Then we go to side B, and we have Petrified in the Hypogean Gland, or Gale. My bad, I cannot read today. The next track is the Arctic Chasm, and then the last song on the album is Planetary Hypnosis. For those of you who don't know about Cryptic Shift, who they are, what they sound like, this is their 3rd release. They did this actually might be their 2nd full length, but I don't believe it is. They did a release, I cannot think of the name of it to save my life, but it was more thrashy feeling to me. Felt a lot like Vector and Revocation, kind of like that sci-fi technical thrash. And then they did like a little single thing called Cosmic Dreams, which was still in the same vein as that EP, which I cannot think of the name of it. But with the full length, they expanded their sound. You still get that root that they kind of based their band off of, that Vector, Revocation, Voivod kind of sci-fi tech thrash. You still get that, but they have added a lot of clean parts in it. It sounds more progressive, and just all in all, it sounds like a more mature release, which is killer considering it's their debut full length. Highly recommend checking it out if you're into technical guitar playing, whether it's the solos or the riffs or like just cool chords or whatever. You're gonna like this. The bass player, John Riley, I have talked to him multiple times, and he is, in my personal opinion, the greatest bass player in the metal scene right now. The bass on this record, it reminds you a lot of, not sound-wise, but just the production side of it. It will remind you a lot of those early Metallica recordings with Cliff Burton, how you can just hear the bass. A lot of bands, a lot of times, will either, one, they will put the bass kind of deep in the mix to the point where it's hard to hear unless you're looking for it. Or number 2, if they don't do that and you can hear the bass, a lot of times they just mimic the rhythm guitarist or a very watered down version of the riff that the guitarist is playing to just kind of add some beef to the backside of the sound. John Riley, on the other hand, much like Cliff Burton, you can hear what he's playing, and he's kind of in his own little world. He's not really mimicking what the guitarists are doing in Cryptic Shift. He has his own little separate riff that he's playing, and it's kind of used as a compliment rather than just something to beef up what the guitarists are already doing. Killer release. I don't want to say a whole lot and spoil it for you, but if you are a musician, this is a great record to listen to, just because all members of the band are very, what's the word I'm looking for? Not the word I'm looking for, but they're very good at what they do. They just write really good compositions, and it sounds great. So if you're into Star Wars or like sci-fi type stuff, this will be right up your alley, and you get great songs to go with it. Alright, moving on. Without a doubt, this is the most popular band on the list, but I love this band, and I have for a long time. And it is the Black Dahlia Murder with Verminous. Let me pull out the record so you can see the variant I got. It is on the clear black with olive green and white splatter. Absolutely gorgeous record. I'm not going to give this band an introduction just because they a few days ago just celebrated their 20th anniversary as a band. So they don't really need an introduction if you listen to any form of extreme metal in the last 20 years. You have probably came across them. They are a band from Detroit, Michigan. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure they're from Detroit. And they are a melodeath band. They are metal in the vein of At the Gates, In Flames, Heartwork era Carcass, and with their first few releases, their first 2 or 3 albums they put out, they were very influential in the deathcore movement and the metalcore movement with that style of riffing on the guitars. So enough introduction for them. This is their 8th or 9th record, I believe. It came out on Metal Blade Records, just like all their stuff has. They have been loyal to Brian Slagel and that label since they put out their debut record on Hollowed. So, with this record, it is the second record with new guitarist Brandon Ellis. And on this record, according to the band and interviews I've seen, he played a far more significant role in the writing side of it, where on their previous record, Nightbringers, he just kind of came in, recorded and played the role, didn't really write a whole lot, just came in, did his guitars, and that was it. On this, he helped with a lot more, and he is a great addition to the band. I mean, it's absolutely mind-blowing. It's one of my favorite Black Dahlia Murder records to date. At first, when I got it, I was kind of skeptical about it. It took a few listens. I apologize again. I cannot speak today. A few listens to really grow on me, and now I love it. If I had to tell you a song to check out, I would say Removal of the Oaken Stake is really good, as well as Child of Night. All of it is really, really good, but those are definitely the two that stick out the most for me. Not going to say a whole lot more about the band just because, like I said, they've been around for 20 years. Pretty much everyone that listens to death metal knows them or has came across them at some point. So that is another one of my favorites this year, Black Dahlia Murder, Verminous. Alright, next up we have Necrot on Tank Crimes with their second full-length, Mortal. This is another beautiful vinyl that I got. Flip it over to the other side, you get a darker thing. Just absolutely beautiful piece of record right here. Similar to Faceless Burial, this is just a good, hard-hitting death metal record. They're not breaking any new ground with it. There's not a very unique sound. It's just a good, classic-sounding death metal record. Death metal done the right way. I think it's definitely an upgrade from their debut record, Blood Offering. This one, to me, similar to Faceless Burial, the guitar in it's just really good. There's a lot of good riffs, and the solos in it are very good. Side B, specifically, is the side that has the best guitar playing on it, in my opinion. The title track is great to listen to. It has a great solo in it. It sounds a little long to me, but that's okay. As far as a song to check out on this, Malevolent Intentions. It is the second track on side B. Alright, so our recap of everything that I have done. We have the Anadonis Spectral Voice split. And we did Faceless Burial Speciation, Tollsling Culling the Seed, Bedsore Hypnagogic Hallucinations, Atrahasis Antediluvian Prophecies, Necrot Mortal, The Black Dahlia Murder, Verminous. Cryptic Shift, we're just going to call this Visitations. And that is all I have except one more release, but I'm not exactly sure if it counts, and you will see why here in a second, but I thought I would show you guys anyways. And it is Spectral Voice Necrotic Demos. And it is just on Black Wax. But it also came with a bonus 7-inch, which is also just on Black Wax. Again, Dark Descent put it out. The copy I have, though, is actually from Extremely Rotten, because Extremely Rotten is the only copy that comes with the bonus 7-inch. Now, this came out a few months ago, so it is a 2020 release, but I'm not sure if it counts, because it is a compilation of all these songs Spectral Voice has done that is not on, let me pull it out of my collection, that wasn't on their full-length Eroded Corridors of Unbeing. So on side A, you get the Necrotic Doom demo, and then on side B, you get all the songs that they have done on splits, besides the Anadonis split. And that's what the bonus 7-inch is for. It has the song they did with Anadonis, as well on side B, an older cover that they did on a promo or something of For Whom the Bell Tolls by Metallica. So I want to include it because it was released in 2020 and it was a great release, but it is no new material whatsoever besides the Anadonis, but I have already put the Anadonis split on my release video thing that I'm doing. So there is that. Those are all the releases. Another thing I listened to that almost made the cut but did not make the cut was Hyperdontia Excreted from the Flesh. I got it on 7-inch and I also got it on cassette. Real cool, I'll show you the cassette just because I love the color. It really pops, but it's on this orange. Another release from Extremely Rotten. The only reason it didn't make my list was not because it's bad. It sounds good. It's a very mediocre listen for me. It didn't really catch my attention. It sounds good. I'm glad I own it, but I could live a few days without listening to it. I've gave it multiple chances. I've listened to it all throughout the year. And again, it's a great release. Highly recommend buying it, but it just could not make the cut for one of my favorite releases this year. I said I was not going to do a top 10 or anything, but I will show you the 3 that I have listened to the most. Cryptic Shift, this came out like in February, so about a year exact, roughly. And I have not been able to put it down. It is amazing. It's that perfect hybrid between thrash metal and death metal and prog and tech. It's just great. Number 2, I already said, the Bedsore release. Much like Cryptic Shift, it sounds great. Where Cryptic Shift is more technical, this is more prog based. And last but not least, Tullsling, Culling the Seed. I know it is a demo. It's not a full length. It's not a professionally label released record or anything. But I'm telling you, get on the Bandcamp. Hit up Alex, hit up Nick, hit up Otis, and hit up Bill. Get yourself a copy of this. You need it. Another band that I highly recommend staying tuned for in 2021. Hope to be seeing some new stuff from them. But that's going to do it, guys. Shorter video today. I tried to make it shorter anyways. Just wanted to run through some of my favorite releases that I got this year. We will be doing more. I have some unboxing videos I want to do because I have a couple things coming in. So want to do that. We will be doing a live review, live listen, how I usually do with the new Sanguisugabogg record. Once I get my hands on it, it comes out in about a month. So stay tuned, and we'll have more cool stuff coming. And as always, stay cosmic.